Hello viewers, right now I'm going to take a screwdriver to this randomly AIN sort of no-namey sort of 3-disc CD changer with a tape deck and radio. Obviously the speakers have already been removed from this one, I didn't get hold of them, and at the end of this one I have to remember as well I didn't get the copper cable here, so have to add yourself a couple of grams of copper if you're scrapping one out that has that. But let's take it apart and see what we can find. I would use the electronic screwdriver, but I realise I've got the wrong bit here, and because I'm lazy it would take me longer to walk over and get the other bit from where I have it at the moment than it would just to do it by hand. All of the outer on this is all plastic. Even the shiny silver is just that plasticky coating. So not much value there. We'll see if we can increase that value at all as we look inside. You can already see, I think, a transformer is just hiding way down under behind that board. Looks like maybe a nice big aluminium heat sink. But I won't get excited and jump onto that before I get the rest of it apart here. The age old, if it's not coming, I'm not pulling on it hard enough. There should be some screws there, and a couple on the back. Let's see how we go. I might just take the ones holding the frame together, see what that does for us. Nice board on the back. If you're overboard, there's a couple of little ICs on there. Seem to be getting ahead of myself though. I want to be into the good stuff, not all this plastic. But I can't get to the other stuff without getting off the plastic first. What have we got in there? Nothing special. One board there, so I might unscrew that. I tend not to take these fans apart anymore because I'll take one apart in a separate video at some stage, if not just to bore you, to show you why I don't take them apart. They have very little actual copper in them and take quite a long time to get undone. So maybe I'll figure out a better method at some stage, but for the moment it's not. Right, let's see if we give that a helping hand. And now we're starting to be able to see we've got this transformer. A bit of copper in there. And, yeah, there's not really a lot to it. Did forget to show you a way up on this one, but we will have that available because I've already written it down. If I could remember, I would tell you. I would just have to leave that till the end. Rightio. There we are with the transformer. I'll have some fun unwinding that for you in a little while. See if we can get this nice, I'm hoping, aluminium plate off. That side's actually got 2 screws. And of course I've just made it difficult for myself by twisting it in a way that it doesn't want to unscrew. There we go. Snip at some of these cables. So I'll tend to leave the plugs on where I can if they're nothing special. If they're gold plated, I'll often put them aside, but not so much if they're just ordinary. So on the back of this is, like we saw before, we've got several ICs. Just getting that aluminium off. I really should stop saying it's aluminium and until I actually put the magnet onto it, hey? Yes, did get it right. Generally it will always be, especially something this size when they're trying to dissipate heat. You will sometimes get steel heat sinks, but usually if you see a heat sink you'll be either getting aluminium or copper. Shows just to make you sound there's quite a lot of waste heat generated. So I've almost got this one off. I may even just put this over here. I'm sure you don't really want to see me just unscrewing all day. So the board here, nothing particularly too special. Looks like, yeah, another couple of little aluminium plates. And the third one there. As far as stuff on the board goes, nothing particularly that I'm interested in there on this side. We'll cut those last couple of cables out. Take whatever cable we can get, even if it is only a little bit. And a couple of copper coils in there as well. It's actually plastic. So yeah, I've got these couple of copper coils here that are resin coated, so that'll only be going in the burnt copper pile. And we can have a look over here. So we've got the steel base, just snip that off. For our steel pile there. Bit of luck, we can just snap it. Have a quick look. So once again, another couple of boards with some copper cable. Oh, it's just showing me that I shouldn't have been lazy in the first place by having a cable. A screw size that's too small for the screwdriver I've got there. I'm sure that's just fate having a bit of a laugh at me. cut off all of this cabling, just like the CD player's chip there, rather than me running away. Most of that is plastic with the boards. I'll take that apart in a moment and you can just see the end job there. We'll go through some of those boards. We can get these boards out together. So all in all, a few boards. If board collecting, boards selling is what you're up to. I don't tend to sell my boards. There's just nobody close by that really will give me a decent price, but I do tend to take off all of the ICs, flat packs, CPUs, you know, MLCCs, just generally any of the big electronics there, and gold fingers, anything that I can sort of collect up. But whether I one day can make $1 or $2 out of that is yet to be seen. At the moment I'm just collecting for the sake of, I'd rather put something that might be able to have some precious metal recovery in the future aside and collect up, rather than just giving the whole thing away for scrap metal. Because I mean, even these boards have copper in them. It's just not worth our time trying to refine it out at the moment, because the time and effort and cost just doesn't add up to what would make for it. That's why there's only those few good e-waste buyers, compared to every second street you go down probably has a salvage yard on it these days. Because realistically, you really need to be going through some big volumes to make it worth your while, sort of processing up, scrapping up all of these boards. Whereas if you've got tons and tons of them, then it doesn't cost you as much per board to really shred all that up and separate out the stuff that's of no use, and the copper and all the components from the boards. When you're doing large amounts, it makes it a lot easier to be able to justify pulling out, you know, platinum, palladium, silver, gold, copper, you know, whatever you can get out of it. Whereas to you or I, would spend more dollars on the chemicals to process a board or two than we could ever hope to recover on the metals themselves. Not to mention trying to find someone who'll buy your half a gram of some obscure metal. So they definitely didn't want these boards to fall out. They've got plenty of screws in them. I do always find it amusing that they always have the arrows pointing to where the screws are, and usually I'll see a nice big shiny screw well before I'll see the arrow pointing to it. That should be enough out of there. I almost don't even want to bother taking this one out. It's only going to be a couple of plugs. There's really nothing of value on there to me. Let's take this one out and see if that's any difference. So after the 500,000 screws, we've got a bunch of plastic pegs, more plastic. There we go, and yet again there's really nothing of value we can see there. I mean, so so far for most of these boards, for the difference of just being able to throw the whole thing in versus, you know, maybe you could take a side cover off, take out that transformer, take out these couple of copper coils we've got down here, and you could probably have left the other rest apart, put the case back together again, and throw that whole case in as it's just scrap steel. That way you're getting your money on the plastic as well, which normally you wouldn't. Now, I don't know if there is anything special about these old tape heads. I can't tell you there, but at least I can tell you that I can't tell you. But we will take off a couple of copper cores. There's nothing coming in through here worth it, so only these copper. So we'll take that off as part of our copper, and then in here it's just all plastic. Now for the opening and closing levers, all the gears in here are plastic. There's a couple of little springs, but other than that, even this board, it actually just has about 4 or 5 little resistors on it. So not even going to bother taking that out. So yeah, we've got all that apart. Now I will take apart some of the rest of this stuff that you don't really want to sit here watching me unwind a transformer, I'm sure. So I'll get this stuff apart and then we'll come back and weigh it up. Right, one thing I didn't mention before, we do have the little motor in there as well for winding the tapes on and off. Most people are going to say they're not going to waste their time, but I will open it up and we'll see if we can get that out. I should have undone it from the other end. Then I'll just give it a tap. I think we may still do that. I think giving it a tap the other way might even help. No, I can't do that in my hand enough. Taking it off is going to be the go. Okay. 1. Nearly 2. I'll go chase that, rolling down the road. Might actually even be a little brass bit that's on the end here. That may actually be a little brass thing. Find out. I'll just see if I can give that a tap. Doesn't want to come out for me today because I want to show people. Any other day they'll fall apart on me and I won't even want them to. I'll just start attacking the side, I think. If all else fails, use a bigger hammer. So we can push that just a little bit up there, and then now we've got it loose enough, I think, that we might actually be able to tap it free. I'll pull it out there. Right, so not much at all on there, but enough to put it in steel instead of plastic. and then our centerpiece. Now these are why I said I don't normally bother opening those others. This one's a little bit bigger, so if I've got nothing else to do, I'll usually at least take these apart, whereas I don't bother taking the fans apart anymore, because you can sit down and unwind these. It's probably not really worth it. There's not much copper weight in there at all, but they are a bit easier than trying to do the fan ones. So that last one we had sort of came in. Now it's looking twice. I really don't find any value in this one, let alone this size, and this is still a fairly reasonable size compared to some of the things I open up. So generally with these, if it's slow, I'll take them off, I'll take them apart. When I was new and trying to find scrap, I do all of these, take these apart. Now for the most part it's generally, I find that not worth my effort, unless I've got no other transformers sitting in a pile to do. I'll start to take these apart just to pile up, but whereas a lot of the transformers tends to relax me, I find that these just frustrate me because they will catch on the corners and all those other sort of things. But the good thing about this is we do have the crystal on here and the IC on the back, so that'll be worthwhile taking apart at least. So again, on these, anything that usually has well in this case it's obviously audio, but like a lot of the TVs and stuff will have these little boxes as well around their antennas, and inside them there's these tiny little copper coils. Now on a lot of the TVs they're even smaller gauge wire than this lot, which means really not very worthwhile trying to get at. Although considering I took the motor for turning the tapes out, I thought it only fair that I take it all apart for you guys, just so you can see, not to bother doing it yourself. Or if you're a bit strange like me, you can bother doing it, I suppose. I'm not going to judge you. So a lot of people just look for those big transformers and ignore everything else, like the little stuff. I find it does tend to add up over time. Like on that same transformer board, we've got the smaller one, which some people don't bother taking, but I find that they don't take all that long to unravel when you're sitting there watching TV or something, got nothing better to do. And then again, a lot of people wouldn't even bother to look at these. One of the ways I tend to like checking is if I can crush it like that, it's probably going to have a copper coil in it. If it's solid, then I'm not going to bother taking it off. So just by doing that bit of a crush test, there's that little bit more copper in this coil here, and a couple of little copper connectors, contacts. Okay, so we're going to do the way up, but first I just wanted to give you a look at these. So those two motors that we took apart, without trying to squash them down too hard, that's the size of the wire we got. Now to give you an idea, if we look at any of the other copper we got, even just one little part of it, we can see that opening up fans, motors, really got to ask yourself how bored you are before you want to get started. But anyway, Okay, so let's take a look at the weights for our CD, cassette player and radio. So the initial weight was 7.8 kilos, or just over 17 pound, and it looked like a lot of plastic to start with, and sure enough there was 2.9 kilos of plastic in there, or not quite 6.5 pound, but light steel still was actually the heaviest in there at 3.35 kilos, or not quite 7.5 pound. So looking at just those two, you'd think that throwing it as shred steel or light steel isn't a terrible idea, especially if you don't process low grade boards yourself, because that would be another 800 grams or 1 3/4 pounds of low grade board that you could put towards steel weight. What does that leave us? Well, it leaves us with 400 grams of burnt copper 2, that's the copper with the resin on it, 350 grams of sheet aluminium, or 3/4 of a pound. Now, there was mostly that one big piece to take off, but a couple of other little bits there as well. And then it was 10 or 20 grams of insulated wire. If you had the power cable, which I didn't have on this particular item, that would have probably taken it up to the registerable amount. So probably at the end of this, if you had lots of scrap to do, you were wanting to get through things quickly, I'd probably still consider just taking off that one side, take out the transformer, even that transformer board which had the littler one and the bigger one on there. That way we'll get our burnt copper out of it. Try and get hold of that sheet aluminium. We can probably get both of those just by taking the side panel off, unscrewing those, screw the side back on, throw the whole thing to shred steel. And we're probably not going to be wasting too much of our time. If you're actually taking it apart completely, most of the screws you're taking apart are only so that you can take steel off plastic, which is pretty much a useless sort of thing to do, especially for some of you that can't get rid of your plastic for dollars once it's not connected to steel anymore. So that's my ideas on what you should do. Feel free to tell me your opinions or any other questions you may have. And other than that, happy scrapping.